2019 was a banner year in Get Woke, Go Broke, as many of the, how do we say, big-brained Hollywood know-it-alls who just know what the plebs all want had some of the most disastrous movie flops of all time. Now, just off the top of my head, in terms of television, we had the Doctor Who reboot over the last 2 years. We have basically everything in the CW Arrowverse, Superwoman, Batwoman, or Supergirl, Batwoman, a wide variety of shows that have continued to lose viewership. In fact, if we look at the most recent numbers for Batwoman, after taking several weeks off and with everyone literally still under lockup, they managed to lose 20% of their viewers in the last, from episode to episode. 20% of their viewers. And by the way, they're down from 1.86 million to a paltry 600,000. I mean, more people watch my videos every day than watch Batwoman. And that's on a network television show. But nonetheless, a lot of people were wondering, or have been watching things with Hollywood. You know, we saw Terminator Dark Fate. We saw Cats. Now, granted, Cats, I wouldn't say was woke. It was just a bad movie, and bad movies should do bad, so there are fewer bad movies for people to have to endure. But that one was just so legendarily bad, it also created an excellent stream for content. So I'm not mad that it exists, but according to a final recap for 2019, it turns out that Fox's X-Men Dark Phoenix lost the most money of any movie released in 2019. It was the biggest flop in 2019. And while it did have some absolutely cringe woke moments, which we'll talk about, it was just a bad movie. It's so sad. It's so sad. Cue the sad music. I grew up loving the X-Men. Storm, Gambit, Wolverine, Cyclops, Professor X. Why can't we? I know how Angry Joe feels now, pining after a good Superman movie. Which, by the way, why can't they make a good Superman movie? What are they waiting for? The world needs Superman now more than ever, but we also need a good X-Men film. Why can't I see a good X-Men film? Why? Why are these the films that get made? Dark Phoenix. By the way, Jean Grey is awesome. Love the character. Hate the movies. The conclusion to X-Men's First Class series, which was a disaster, by the way. Dark Phoenix was the last mainline X-Men movie Fox completed prior to being bought by Disney. It opened in June 2019 to a generally negative review and was criticized for its lackluster execution across the board. If that wasn't troubling enough, it was also the studio's second adaptation of the acclaimed Dark Phoenix saga comic book storyline after 2006's much-derided X-Men The Last Stand, which was even written by Dark Phoenix writer-director Simon Kinberg. Due to the unflattering early word of mouth, box office projections were also pretty low heading into Dark Phoenix's opening weekend. In spite of that, the film still bombed harder than expected, setting an all-time low for Fox's X-Men franchise in the process. Shortly after, it was predicted that the movie would ultimately cost Fox somewhere in the vicinity of $100 to $120 million. Unfortunately, the final loss was even worse. Per Deadline, Dark Phoenix posted a total loss of $133 million after topping out at $252 million at the global box office, another all-time low for X-Men movies. Overall, it lost more money than any other film released last year, including the notorious commercial failures like Terminator Dark Fate, which lost $123 million, Cats, which lost $113 million, and Gemini Man, which lost $111 million. Now, the Gemini Man movie, I thought was a really bizarre one to lose money, but like the more I think about it, maybe it makes sense. I remember seeing the trailer and being like, not interested. Like the concept of going back and having to end yourself, it's an okay concept. I like Will Smith. I don't know what it was about that movie that just wasn't very good, but there was no reason to see it at the time. Combined with the reviews, Dark Phoenix's box office loss can be attributed to a perfect storm of factors. For starters, its budget was nearly $200 million after substantial reshoots, which is always a good sign, Star Wars, which included refilming the entire climax, giggity, and the movie was subsequently delayed from November 2018 to February. It was thereafter delayed again after producers' wishes to June to accommodate Fox's Alita Battle Angel, which only further damaged its efforts, building hype and increased the negative buzz surrounding the project. Of course, all of this was happening while Disney was in the process of finalizing its purchase of Fox, or the latter studio wasn't entirely focused on making sure Dark Phoenix turned out well. There were other problems which impacted Dark Phoenix in a creative sense. Namely, it was originally written as 2 movies before Fox decided to condense it into a single film, and as been pointed out before, there arguably wasn't a whole lot of fan interest in another take on the Dark Phoenix saga following The Last Stand. Finally, for many filmgoers in 2017's Logan felt like a true conclusion to Fox's mainline X-Men films, which I agree. This brings up, I think, a valuable point to me that I'm thinking about. Why did Dark Phoenix get made? Because Captain Marvel got made. I mean, right? I would think studios are willing to take a risk on female-led movies right now. That's where the money's being spent. That's where the risk is. Why did Captain Marvel succeed? Well, for several reasons. One, it had a long and storied... Marvel has a long and storied history of delivering a product that we can expect. Marvel is the McDonald's of movies. No matter where you are, you know exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get low stakes. You're going to get some jokes. You're going to get some good special effects, and it's going to be a decent, time killer for 2 to 3 hours on an afternoon. Same with a Big Mac, or a double quarter pounder with cheese, no pickle, no onion. It's going to taste the same at almost every McDonald's, which is one of the biggest recipes to their success. 2, it was required reading. So you had the fact that Marvel has a long and storied successful history of a consistent product. And when you go to the X-Men franchise, you go to DC's movie franchise, and it doesn't have that. It hasn't earned that. Has it had some good movies? Sure, it has, but it's had way more terrible ones. And it's had a lot of mediocre ones too. So they don't get the same cachet that Marvel would have got. They pushed what I assume was a female actress led movie up front because that's what everyone else was doing. Nobody wanted the film, and it flopped. Captain Marvel, I suspect, would never have made $1 billion if it wasn't marketed as required reading for Endgame. I think we're going to see where Marvel stands when we start to see more of these standalone films come out. Like, will Thor Love and Thunder make $1 billion? Maybe. Will Doctor Strange 2 make $1 billion? I'd be surprised. Will the new Eternals, but whatever, I can't think of it right now. They've got a couple of bizarre offshoots that are really going to put things to the test for Marvel and see if Marvel just can continue to produce billion-dollar films. And exactly why, I don't know. Now, they had original articles. I mean, there was obviously the Dark Phoenix. We had this great line, which fit perfect on Twitter, as this article points out. Out in theaters last week, and this is the kind of press it was getting in June. Out in theaters last weekend, Dark Phoenix is already famous for the scene where lead actress Jennifer Lawrence says the X-Men really should be the X-Women since they're the ones that do all the work, and men just take the credit. I'm afraid that sort of woke clip, just right for Twitter, is about all there is to the movie. Our heroine, Jean Grey, a mutant with telepathic and telekinetic powers, the very model of a strong, independent modern woman. She gets hit by cosmic energy when the X-Men go into space on a mission to save astronauts. The American president congratulates them for saving lives. They're all heroes, one sweet moment, but behind the applause, their unity, and metaphorically, the liberalism in their project represents is already collapsing. That might be kind of a reach. The failure that makes the rescue necessary symbolizes America's failing space program and more fundamental failures in technological progress in the modern age. Okay, sure. I don't know that it has the deep political meanings. I think that Fox wanted a female-led film. They already had Wonder Woman. So they wanted to put a female in front of the X-Men, which I think Jean Grey could do it. That was just a bad movie. Ultimately, it was a bad movie led by bad marketing and multiple delays and recaps and things like that. When we look at other films on this list of terrible films, I mean, Terminator Woke Fate, we all know why that failed. One, nobody wanted that film, just like nobody wanted Jean Grey's. Nobody wanted Terminator Dark Fate. Nobody wanted Wominator Woke Fate. Nobody wanted modern politics in their Terminator movie. Terminator Dark Fate failed, in my opinion, strongly because, well, nobody wanted it, and the people that did see it didn't like it. The modern politics in the marketing always ruins it. Like when you watch the movie itself, it's not like you're watching this thing and you're like, man, it's so woke, I hate this. It's not like that. It's got its mentions here and there, but everything gets hyper focused on that on social media, and it just turns people off. And by the way, all respect to Linda Hamilton. Seriously, much respect. But I don't want to watch a Linda Hamilton Terminator movie. You know, that's not what I wanted. That's not what it was marketed as. And while Linda Hamilton did have a pretty big role in Terminator 2, it just felt like it was marketed like Grandmainator and her female posse take on a new Terminator, and it just wasn't appealing. That's why that film failed. Obviously, the gigantic budget too. Still love Arnold. Please don't do any more reboots, Arnold. Just let them stay in the past. Congratulations, X-Men's Dark Phoenix, on the worst movie of 2019, at least financially. One hopes that Disney can at least apply a similar methodology to fix the X-Men that they've done with Marvel movies and at least make them watchable again. I don't know if I'll ever see anyone as Wolverine. Or like Professor Xavier than the original actors, but maybe in time. We'll have to see. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.